Hey, right, 2A here. Okay, here with the weekly roundup. Okay, so this is my series where I do a weekly episode where I talk about multiple things, not in detail, but just the big picture. More intended for those who maybe don't have a lot of time on their hands, who want to stay in the loop, don't have time to, really put in hours a day, but still like the Second Amendment. That's who this series is focused on. Okay, I'm not going to spend any more time rambling. Gonna get into it. Okay, first topic. Talking about the FBI. Okay, so the FBI recently released a report around, good guy with the gun scenarios. And it is false. Okay, they lied, they misreported, whatever wording you want to use, they did it. So basically, to back up a little bit, the FBI has standards for many things when it comes to reporting so that they can get fully accurate statistics and information, and they can know what's going on. They can know what's rising, what isn't, in terms of crime situations. Now, defensive, firearm uses are not one of those things, okay? So the FBI does not have that accurate reporting requirements for these type of incidents. So you may ask, well, how did they release a report on it if they don't have that information? Where did this information come from that they reported on? Well, it comes from news outlets, otherwise known as mainstream media. So mainstream media is not a good place to get information regarding, lawful and responsible gun owners or gun carriers, because they're generally anti-gun, right? So, not a good place to get that information. Now, that's where the FBI gets it, though. So, they released this report saying it's from. I'm not going to go into all the details, okay? There's a lot more to this, but this is a roundup. So if you want more on this case, Guns and Gadgets did a great video on this situation. You check that out if you care. But just to give you a little bit of information, basically the FBI said from 2014 to 2021, 4.4% of firearm attacks were stopped by the good guy with the gun. Okay. Now the Crime Prevention Research Center, they're the ones who fact checked this FBI report and brought facts to the table because the FBI did not. And now what they say is no, 4.4% is not accurate. It's actually 34.4%. Okay. So that is not just a couple percent off. That is way off. Okay. That is inaccurate reporting. So, good on the Crime Prevention Research Center for doing this and showing fact, okay? Good guys, good gals with guns absolutely save lives, okay? And the left does not want you to know that, okay? Why would the FBI put out these false statistics? These agencies like the FBI, the ATF, they get weaponized by whatever, whoever the presidency is at the time. Currently, it's, of course, super left Joe Biden. So, of course, they're doing this. It's no surprise. We just got to keep it in mind so that we can seek out facts from other sources. And, as we can see here with the Crime Prevention Research Center. So, I'm going to move on from this topic. Just know that the FBI misreported this and, The facts are out there if you want them. So we got to keep it in mind. Don't just believe what you're told all the time, because oftentimes it is false. Okay, moving on. Okay, now this next topic is super obnoxious, okay, really annoying. 14 Senate Democrats sent a letter to the Department of Justice and ATF. Okay, right there, you know where this is going. But I had the chance to skim through the letter, and there's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in there, and it's, there's a lot of lies and false statistics in there. But basically, to put it really simply, I'm not going to read the letter on the video or nothing. Plenty of people have done that if you wanted to see that. But I'm just going to put it simply, break it down. What's the point behind this letter? They're basically saying, these senators, ghost gun, so-called ghost guns are, they're rising. They're becoming the number one weapon of choice of these killers and whatnot. And yeah, ATF, you had your new rule change they had a new rule change that came out. I think that went into effect in August around so-called ghost guns, as we know, personally made firearms. And they're like, oh, you did some things, ATF, and that's great, but we want to see you do more. Okay, that's basically the point behind this letter. And they go into these statistics where it's like, oh, this is how many more ghost guns are used in crimes as of, whatever the dates are, as of somewhat recently. Now what they don't tell you is most of those guns that they're calling ghost guns are not ghost guns, or not so-called ghost guns. They're not personally made firearms. They are production guns that have had the serial numbers illegally removed by criminals. That is nothing new. However, now they're lumping those guns in with personally made firearms, and suggesting that all of these numbers are personally made firearms, when that is not the case. So that's a form of propaganda. It's false statistics. It's lies, okay? And those are the numbers they're leaning on to say, oh, look at how bad this is. This the weapon of choice of these psychos. It's not the case, all right? There's very few personally made firearms being used in crime. There are a lot of, the production guns that have had the serial numbers removed illegally. Yes, so those two things should not be lumped into the same category. They are, and it's a misrepresentation of fact. So we got to keep that in mind. This is disgusting to see these senators asking ATF to basically do their job for them, because ATF doesn't make law. Congress does. Members of the Senate can contribute to that. But they know they can't do it. It's unconstitutional. It violates the Bruin decision. So they want to get ATF to do it for them, because the ATF is already a rogue agency under the Biden administration. So, that's what's going on there. I'm going to move on, but it's obnoxious. You can check the letter out. I would recommend that you check the letter out if you care. But if not, that's the, big picture of that situation. Okay, moving on. Next topic. Okay, this one's just going to be a short update type situation. Now, as we know, this summer, after the Buffalo, New York shooting and the Uvalde, Texas school shooting, horrible tragedies, of course. But, as always, they went after the law-abiding, gun-owning community in response, rather than, the psychopathic criminals. And, in how they did that was they passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. of 2022. There was a lot of gun control in there. One of which was enhanced background checks for those 18, 19, and 20 years old. Those are going into effect this month. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're 18, 19, or 20. These enhanced background checks are going into effect this month. And, those enhanced background checks include mental health records as well as juvenile records. Okay, so that's not ideal. But it is what it is. Those are going into effect this month. In many states, this isn't gonna affect you in many states. That doesn't make it any less bad, obnoxious, unconstitutional, or nothing like that. I'm just saying, if in many states this won't affect you, like here in Washington, we've got a 10 business day waiting period for semi-automatic center-fired rifles, which is what the state determines to be assault weapons and handguns. Okay, so we've got a 10 business day waiting period regardless of your age, regardless of anything here in Washington. And many states have something similar to that, or something along the lines of that. But many states don't, okay? But in the states that don't, this is a federal law. So now if you're 18, 19, or 20, this will apply to you, the enhanced background checks, which comes with a delay, okay? So you will be delayed in purchasing a firearm if you're 18, 19, or 20, if you aren't in a state that is going to delay you anyways, which many will. So just keep that in mind. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but, it's just a little update there. So I'm going to get on to the final topic right now. Okay, this last topic is kind of good news. Okay, it's not a big win or nothing, but I saved the best for last. There wasn't much good news in this video. So BIANCHI v. FROSH. Okay, that is the state of Maryland's assault weapon ban case. Okay, a case challenging Maryland's assault weapons ban. So this case was awaiting Supreme Court review prior to the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen case. After the Bruen decision was issued, this was one of many cases that were GVR'd. Okay, what that means is granted review, vacated. They vacated the lower court's decision, and they remanded it back to the lower court, basically saying, hey, you didn't do good. Try to do better next time. Okay, is basically what that means. So we've pretty much just been waiting for updates since this case was GVR'd. Well, it has finally been scheduled. Okay, so it has been scheduled for been scheduled in the Fourth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals, and oral arguments for this case begin on December 26th, 2022. Okay, so that's good. This case is finally, moving again, and I'm really interested to see what happens in this case, an assault weapon ban case, post Bruen. Woo, we'll see. It's in time, this could become a win. However, I don't think it's gonna end, in this court. I think it's probably it'll probably make it back to the Supreme Court, I would say, but maybe not. Now that's what's interesting. So we'll see. In any case, glad to see this case, moving again, and it's scheduled for pretty reasonable time. Unlike the Washington State magazine ban case that I talked about a couple weeks ago, over a year away. This is just over a month away, a couple months away from being heard. And that's good. So I just wanted to give a little update there. That's the best news I have this week for you. So I'm gonna, get out of here. I had 4 topics this week. Weekly roundup. like I said, I'm gonna get out of here, but I'll see you. I'll see everybody next week. I'll be here 2 videos a week as always, and yeah, that's it. Goodbye.